Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Today we're going to talk about when people bring up crazy ideas. Recently I was at one of the restaurants in Jackson Hole and I was talking to the manager, and she'd been introduced to me and was told that I was a polar explorer and done all these crazy things, and she was listening, kind of teasing information out of me. But I saw that she had this look like she wanted to tell me something. And so we chatted a bit, and she walked away because she had to do a few things. But then she came back, and we'll call her name Susan. We're going to make her name anonymous, and you'll see why in a moment. So Susan came back a few minutes later, looked at me and said, "Hey, you know what? Would you mind if I kind of ran an idea by you?" I said, well, of course. I mean, why not? What's the worst thing that happens? And so she stood there for a moment and debated and said, "You know, I think this idea is pretty crazy, but would you be willing to listen to it? And tell me what you thought." I thought, well, sure, of course. I mean, why wouldn't I do that? I mean, you listen to my crazy story. So Susan looked at me and she said, "I've got this crazy idea," preface, "that I would like to start a drug rehab center for people in Jackson." And she went on to explain some of the details about getting addicted to opioids and all these things, and just even alcohol. And a lot of people struggle with that here, being a remote place, and then either you're living with 5 roommates, life's tough, or whatever the case was. But Susan said, "You know, it's really crazy. I don't know if it's worth it." And I told her, "Susan, that's an incredible idea. What would be wrong with that?" And she said, "Well, both my husband and I, we really struggled with addiction, and we went through some tough times, and we were both able to break out of it. But people told us that, oh yeah, there's no way that your marriage is going to last. You're going to get out of this. It's like guaranteed divorce, and you should just leave your husband now." And of course, she was looking at these people that she was going through rehab with, like, "What are you talking about? Why should I leave my husband? Why would you tell me to ditch the man I love? And I know we're having terrible struggles and money problems because of the addictions that they had." But she told me, "Look, I've got this vision that we could actually create a center and a program for people to come in and anonymous." I mean, I don't do drugs. I have no idea what that's like to go through a rehab program, thank goodness. But she said it's pretty challenging because, I mean, your mind's always on these things, and that's what part of the rehab center is. And she was talking about whether it's, do you go there as a complete retreat? Do you visit like once a week or twice a week, like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and Gamblers Anonymous? Something like that. But she said, "Yeah, I have this whole idea we can build a whole center for people to come and get away from the exposure to these terrible problems that they have." And I said, "Man, Susan, that was a super respectable idea. Just think about it. You're thinking about other people, that you might help them to escape the problems that you and your husband had. I mean, that is incredibly noble." So let's talk about the idea, this crazy idea. I mean, it blew me away because it was super thoughtful and caring that you would not only have to work your regular full-time job day in, day out, and your husband does his work, but you're going to get together. And she said, "Yeah, my husband and I have been talking about this for a long time. And you know, we're not sure because it's pretty out there." I'm like, no, that's not out there. See, crazy ideas are never out there. That's just because they haven't been done. And just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it's crazy. It just simply hasn't been done. I just did a video about the movie Free Solo, Alex Honnold, about him free solo climbing El Capitan. That's pretty crazy, I'll admit that. I mean, I have an extreme crazy level, but that is just one tick up. And that's only probably because I'm too old to be able to do that thing anymore. But that aside, other crazy ideas like, why would you want to ski halfway across Antarctica by yourself in minus 100 degree temperatures? That's crazy. How about showing up to Greenland super well past the trekking season, talking to the police there, and hey, I need to get my permit. Why? Well, I'm going to trek on the Arctic Circle Trail. When? In about 5 minutes as soon as we get this permit. He looked at me like, you're crazy. He didn't say it, but whatever. All these things. So whatever your level of crazy is actually quite relativistic. Now, I'm not a guy that's about relativism at all. I mean, there are absolutes. Doing wrong is doing wrong. Being crazy, not crazy, sorry, being disrespectful, cruel, hurting or killing people, destroying stuff, yeah, all wrong. No problem there. But crazy is all a relative measure. So I learned this best from a psychologist, speaker I know, Dr. Paul. He said, I don't know if it's his story, but so look at it this way. When you're driving along on the highway and you're cruising along, and you come up to somebody who's driving a little bit slower than you. You might run up onto them, you don't crash them, hopefully, and you get up like, geez, get out of the way, what are you doing? You're poking along, you're holding up traffic, and then eventually you get irritated, and then you gun it past them. They're irritating. Take for the instance where you're coming along, you're driving the speed limit, and somebody comes right up onto your bumper and kind of flashes their lights and pulls around and boom, blows right past you. What do you call them? Crazy. But wait a minute. The person that you ran up onto who's maybe doing 2 or 3 miles under the speed limit and you gunned it around and shot past them, what did they call you? That's right. Crazy too. Relative measure, sure. I go hiking all the time, mountaineering, climbing, ice climbing. I totally love it. People think that's nuts. When I climb the Grand Teton in Grand Teton National Park, I'm going along and I'm having a good time, and this young man, he jogs past me, just whew, more like runs past me. And I said, hey, how far are you going? He said, all the way to the top. And it was just about sunrise. And he goes up to the top. I'm on the switchbacks. I see him going down the glacier. Hey, did you make it? He yells back, of course, dude. Have a good one. People call me crazy for going and climbing the Grand Solo, and yet I don't really look at this young guy as crazy, just like I would really like to be able to jog this thing out, climb up, climb down. But if I'm crazy, what's he? Super extreme, mega crazy? Right. So coming back to this idea with Susan and her husband, she was actually really fearful about telling me about her idea. I'm telling you right now, when I tossed out the idea of doing an expedition to the South Pole by myself, I have a long list of, you're crazy, why would you do that? Too much effort, money, pain, risk. Yeah. What happens if you die, fail, don't make it? I don't know. Who knows? You'll figure it out when you get there. Hopefully you have a plan. I've got a book coming out in early spring called Adventure One. Talks all about the expedition process of de-crazifying, if you will, expeditions. And maybe it's not directly applicable to Susan and her husband's idea of crazy, but maybe it is, because think about all the things that you have to plan and do to create the thing that you want to create. It's not crazy in piece and part. There are two types of goals. They're called SMART goals, sustainable, manageable, actionable, whatever it is, and then stretch goals way far out there. Does Susan have the funds right now with her husband to go buy a building and create a rehab center? No. Does Susan have a medical license, an MD certification by Wyoming where she can dispense? There's some, I can't remember what the drug is that helps addicts get off drugs, but apparently she's been taking it and clean, dry, and sober for years. Said, yeah, if we can get a doctor to hook onto that to get a prescription for people to help them. And of course, you have to be under doctor's management and care and all that. And I said, okay, that's just one thing. Maybe you can tie into St. John's here. This is one of the hospitals we have in the area. Maybe you can work with them to create a program. Who knows? Maybe there's competition. Okay, well, we got to come up with a building. Then we're funding and advertising and program development. Yes, and it all sounds crazy when you think of the big monster. What do they call that? The big, hairy, scary goals. But if you think of one piece, and you do the big list of, okay, these are all the things we have to have, and it's overwhelming. Oh, there's no way I can deal with that. totally overwhelming. But can you do this one piece? Yes, I bet you can. Like, hey, where would we put this building? Actually, in Jackson, that's pretty tough. We'll ignore the building part just for the minute. How would we tailor our program to people who are coming in with these programs? How would we advertise them to them? How would we show that it's a safe place to come where they can be anonymous, go through this program if they want to be anonymous? I don't know. I have no idea. But if you break these crazy huge, let me get the camera, crazy huge ideas down to something smaller and more manageable and keep breaking it down to bite size, a couple things will happen. One, you think, man, I can actually do that thing. But then two, but how in the heck am I going to get to there to do it because it's so big and I'm only working on this one little thing? Well, just remember these hands can only do so much per day. You got 24 hours in a day, you probably need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 16 hours max. So just remember these hands can only do so much. But if you begin working and chunking on them, just like me skiing to the South Pole, that was 720 miles as the crow flies. Was I going to make it there in a day? No, that's stupid. Of course not. You can't do that. How about 10 days? No. 20? Nah. How about 40? Yeah, people have made it in 40 days. Not so crazy. The world record, 24 days and some odd hours. That's pretty intense and crazy. But me, 81 days, world record, slowest survival ever. Well, that's crazy you'd be out there that long. See, you start to get the idea. Just because you have this crazy idea and you're fearful of telling people, don't be. Because a lot of people will poo-poo you on your idea. They'll say, that's dumb, that's stupid because blah, 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 blah. And you know what? Don't tell them. Just walk away from them. Find somebody who does a fist bump like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's talk about how we can make it happen. You feed on those people, they will build you up. You feed on the people that tell you how it won't work, they'll crush you. Don't spend time with them talking about your idea. Maybe they're great friends, maybe you love them, maybe you're family members. But when you're working on your big, crazy idea, don't bother if people are super negative on it. Walk away and find other people to help you out to create the vision for it. There's 7 billion people. I'm sure there's someone on earth that can help you figure out your crazy idea. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker and full of crazy ideas. Please like and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel below. If you'd like, please support this channel on Patreon or in PayPal. Thank you very much for watching.